Hello, FCS 2250 Computer Application students to Lesson 9. Lesson 9, we have a couple assignments. We have our terminology table, and then we have our project. Make sure you're very vigilant about the due dates. And let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to click on Lesson 9 directions here. We're going to be working with some formulas, functions, and formatting. You're going to first start with some vocabulary. You have 22 words. And then we have our project. And let's go ahead and get started. We're going to take a look first at what we're going to be doing here, and this is what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be making Olivia's art supply, her salary report. She has some employees, some of their email address, how many dependents they have, their hours worked, their hourly pay rate, and this is going to be all data. Again, if I click in here, I look up at the formula bar and it's data, but eventually gross pay, we're going to start doing some formulas so we can figure out her gross pay, her federal tax, state tax, tax percentage bracket, and then net pay, how much she actually gets to take home and spend on things that she wishes, and what date she was hired. We're also going to look at some column information, such as the highest data in this actual range of information here. We're going to be looking at the lowest bit of information in this range. We're also going to be looking at the average in this range here. We're also going to be doing what's called conditional formatting. As you see in hours worked, the management gets pointed out to them some information that may be valuable to them in regards to hours worked. So right now, Teresa here has only worked 60 hours, but maybe she has met a certain condition, maybe working over 70 hours. All right, and when she does work over that amount of time, it will turn into blue. So I'm going to go ahead and put maybe 88 hours. She worked a lot this week. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and press enter. You can see where that then turns blue. She met a condition, it then changes, so management can see that easily. Now I'm going to do a Control Z as in zebra on my keyboard to undo that. So let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to open up a new file, a new workbook, excuse me. And I'm on page EX61, and it tells us on direction number 1 to run Excel, create a new workbook. I'm going to go ahead and click in cell A1 and type in Olivia's art supply. Pressing my enter key or arrows, totally up to you. They do tell you to use the arrows. Sometimes I use the enter key or in the tab key to move things around. So Olivia's salary reports, and jumping down to direction number 1 on to enter column titles on page 61. And we're going to go ahead and type in employee. We're doing our column headings here. Email address and dependents. And now in cell D3, we need to pause here for a second, because what we're going to do is we're going to type in hours, but we want to enter, if you will, to put a word underneath it. Well, if I just press enter, it's going to bring me down to A4. So I'm going to go back to D3 here, and I'm going to double click right after hours. And you want to press your Alt key on your keyboard and your enter key. Now what that's going to do is it's going to bring you down. Don't worry about it. Your hours is still there. Hours worked. So when I press my tab key, there is my hours worked. I usually get emails after you press your Alt enter, people would stop because they didn't see hours anymore. It's still there. Just go ahead and continue doing what the directions say. Now I'm going to pause this because I'm going to follow through from the rest of the directions 5 through 11, just typing some of my column headings, and I'll be back shortly. Okay, I have all my column headings in. Yours should look very similar to this. If it does not, you may want to double check your directions. But now I'm going to start working on my first employee here, and it's Joanne Bennett. So last name first, comma. Don't forget your comma between each one. That's going to be very important later on when we start working with our email addresses. So make sure you do a comma between the last and first name. I'm going to press my tab key. I'm going to actually press it twice because I want us to go to our dependents. Hours worked, 64.25. And E4, 1975. That's her pay rate. And then gross pay and federal tax, state tax, and net pay, those are all going to be formulas. We'll come back to that in a second. We're just going to work on entering some data right now. So she was hired 4/5/12. And I'm going to press my enter key now. Now direction 6 on page EX62 says, all right, you've got a lot of data just to fill in. So look down at your table 2.1, Olivia's Art Supply Report Data, and you're going to go ahead and type in a lot of data here. So make sure you take your time and enter the data as it says in table 2.1, and I'll be back shortly. All right, so I have all my data in here, and what I want you guys to do at this time is to pause and make sure that you go over your data twice. What I like to do is put my mouse in here. I'm looking up at my formula bar here. I'm looking at my chart on my table 2.1 on page 62, and I'm just going down and I'm looking at those numbers and making sure they're all correct, because the major emails that I get, my numbers don't match yours, is based on human error. So make sure you double check that. I'm going to go ahead and save this at this time right now, so that way I know that I've saved this up. So I'm going to go to a location where I'm going to save it, and so I highly suggest you as well. So let me go to my desktop here, my FCS 2250. I am in lesson 9, so I need a new folder. So make sure that you are saving up, and I'm just going to save it as Olivia's, let's see here, Olivia's Art Supply Budget. I'm just going to do it as Olivia's Budget. Nice, short, and sweet. That will work just fine, and choose Save. Oh, let me make sure I put it in my lesson 9. That's going to be important. So make sure I do that and save. So now we have it saved up as Olivia's Budget. And that will be just fine. So now we're back to the action. We're on page 63. It asks us to be in cell B4. Now don't worry about all this formatting. We'll make this thing look pretty, and we'll adjust cells and all that good stuff so we can see everything. And it may look weird. Well, I'm typing over Joanne. Well, really we're not, because that is not in cell B4. That's in cell A4, as you can see here in our formula bar. So I'm back in the email address, and I'm going to start typing in her email address, jbennett@email.com. All right. Now it tells me to press the down arrow to select cell B5. So now I'm in B5. We're going to type in mfred@email.com. Pretty simple. And now, direction number 2 says on page 63, click the data on the ribbon. Oh, hold on. I need to do the enter right there. So click the data on the ribbon to select the data tab. So let's go to our data tab. Click Flash Fill. So in our data tab, our data tools group, we need to choose Flash Fill right here. All right. So let's go ahead and choose Flash Fill. And there we have emails that have come down all the way down through the rest of this here. Now, for some reason, mine does not look very good, because I am getting some emails up here as well. I'm not sure if you did or not, but it looks like I did. And B6 through B12, we should have only had those go through B12. Remove the entries from cells B1 and B2. There we go. So let's go ahead and go up to B2, and that tells us in direction number 2. It's the third bulleted point. So I'm just going to go ahead and click in this location here. Let's go ahead and highlight that email. We're going to just press the delete key. So I'm going to go down to now. Oh, well, didn't want that to happen. And that must have started an email as I clicked in cell B2. So be careful with that. Let's go ahead and highlight this, and we're going to press the delete key. All right, so I'm just going to press and click somewhere, and I'm going to do a Control S. That's going to save my project of what I've done so far. So let's go ahead and flip the page. I am now on page 64. And now we're going to do a little bit more putting in some titles and stuff like that. So in A13, we're going to type the word totals. And then we're going to go ahead and press the arrow key down. and we're going to go ahead and type highest. This is going to be our maximum function. Lowest, it's going to be our minimum function. And then our average will be our average function. All right, and so now we're down in direction number 1 at the bottom of page EX64, and it says double click the Sheet tab 1 and enter salary report. So Sheet tab 1, double click that, salary report. All right, we want to right click the Sheet tab to display the shortcut menu. So let's go ahead and right click right there on that Sheet tab. Well, let me press my enter key first to get that activated. Now right click to show the shortcut menu. Point to the tab color. So we want to point to tab color. We're going to get a nice color wheel here. And what we're going to do is we are going to choose, in the standard color is apply the color to the Sheet tab. Well, click green, excuse me. Column 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we are going to choose green, row 7. So all the way down here in our standard colors, we're going to go ahead and choose green. So now that is applied there. Very nice. And it tells us to save this. So let's go ahead. A good time to hit Control S. I know we've already saved it, or I have. If this is the first time you're saving, go ahead and save that up. And we're now over on page EX65. We're going to start some formulas. So we're going to be in cell F4. We're going to get our gross pay. All right, and with F4 selected, we're going to type equals. That's going to show Excel that we are going to start a formula. Now it tells us to type D4, but you know what? I'm lazy. I am going to click in cell D4. You can see that we have some craziness going around with D4. I'm going to hit my multiplication key, and then I'm going to click in cell E4. Now you can type it if you wish. I like to use that feature with my mouse. Up to you. And then I'm going to go ahead and press my check key for enter. Now I have a formula right there that I have an actual number. So if her hours of work changed, let's say she went up to 70 the next week. See how her gross pay changed? Follow that. Now I'm going to Control Z that. I'm going to undo that. But that's the power of formula. That's why you want to use formulas. That's why Excel is so powerful. All right, so now I'm over on page EX66, and we are going to press the right arrow key. Well, basically going over to our federal tax. That's where we want to be. And we're going to complete the arithmetic operation indicated by the formula, display the results in the worksheet, and select the cell to the right, figure 2.8. The number of the decimal places on your screen may be different than shown in figure 2.8, so don't freak out if that happens, but these values will be adjusted later in the module. All right. So I'm jumping back over to, now on page on EX67, with cell G4 selected, type equals, starting a formula, 0.22 times, and we're going to do some algebra here, so we got to get in our bracket, shift 9 in our case, to begin the formula, and then click cell F4, our gross pay, to add a cell reference in the formula. We then are going to flip over to page EX68, type in your minus key, F4 minus, and then click cell C4 for the dependents, and add a subtraction operator to reference another cell to the formula. And then we're going to go ahead and type in multiply by 2432. All right, and so looking at my formula in figure 210, I think I've got it good. I need my ending bracket, excuse me, I missed one thing, so it's always good to double check. It looks like I have my formula the way I want it to be. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the check key. Sorry about that. I took a little bit of time to review that. And there's my federal tax. All right. And so, oh, time flies when you're having fun. So I've started my formulas, you guys. Be very vigilant. One thing I want to say when you're doing a fill handle, when it asks you to use the fill handle, it's not the white plus. It's the black plus in the lower right hand corner. If they ask you to select two things, white plus, black plus then for your